Imagine a glass case. Inside it, a single rose. And slowly, but quietly, a petal falls. Then another, and another. In Beauty and the Beast, the rose is not just a flower, it's a clock. Every falling petal is time running out. And then I started wondering to myself, what if we had a rose just like this? What if we could see our time slipping away? Would we still say, I'll do it later? Would we still postpone the conversations we need to have, the people we need to call, or even the things we keep on putting to the side because we keep on reminding ourselves that we have enough time? Or maybe we would finally realize that time was never truly ours to keep, that it was always borrowed. Because the truth is, we already live like that. We, we just don't see these petals falling. We always assume there'll be more. Another weekend, another family gathering, another ordinary Tuesday. But nobody actually knows how many of these petals remain. And that raises a deeper question. If time is limited, then how do we decide what matters? Why do some moments stay with us forever while others disappear? Why does that one conversation remain vivid decades later, but hundreds of ordinary days dissolve into nothing? I think the answer is culture. Not culture as in food, clothing, or even festivals, but culture as in something much more deeper. Culture as a way of transforming time into something with meaning. Because surprisingly, time by itself is pretty empty. A minute does not know whether it contains a wedding or a traffic jam. An hour does not know whether it holds grief, joy, boredom, or celebration. Physics can measure time, a clock can count it, but neither can truly tell us what it means. Culture does. Culture is a system that human beings created to answer a question that clocks never could. What is worth remembering? Time gives us moments. Culture tells us which ones matter. Think about it. A morning is just a morning, but an Eid morning, that feels different. You're up even before the alarm has rung. The house is already alive. Someone is in the kitchen. Someone else is trying to find their shoes. Another person is shouting from across the room. And yet, the house feels much more alive. Nothing about the clock has changed. Nothing about the morning has changed. But an hour is still an hour, but somehow the morning feels brighter, more larger, alive, because culture has yet transformed an ordinary moment into a more meaningful one. The same thing happens during weddings. Henna being applied on hands, children running around, relatives you haven't seen in months appearing out of nowhere. Stories being retold for the thousandth time, and somehow those hours feel different, not because time changed, but because its meaning did. And this isn't unique to only one culture. In Tanzania, we grew up using Swahili time. For normal English speakers at 7 o'clock, we call it as saa moja. It's the first hour of the day, which begins with the sunrise. And nothing about the sun has changed, neither about the clock, but our relationship to time, that has. And I love that. Because it reminds us that time isn't just numbers, it's interpretation, it's perspective, and it's a story. And perhaps that is what every other culture does. It takes universal time and teaches us how to experience it. What's fascinating is that psychology suggests that this isn't just poetic. It's actually how our brains work. Researchers have found out that our memory is not a recording device, it's an editor. Our brains don't preserve moments equally. They prioritize emotion, connection, and meaning. And that's why we remember Eid mornings, we remember chai. That's why entire routines can disappear from our memory, but that one family gathering remains crystal clear 20 years later. The clock records both equally, but our brains, they don't. In other words, we don't remember time, we remember its meaning. And culture is one of the greatest meaning making systems humanity has ever created. It tells us what to celebrate, what to honor, what to mourn, what to pass on. It marks births, marriages, achievements, losses, and transitions. It places signposts across the road of life and tells us, pay attention, this moment matters. Without these signposts, life becomes more harder to navigate through. Days blur, weeks disappear, and life starts feeling faster not because the clock accelerates, but because we create fewer memorable moments that stand out enough. Perhaps that is why adulthood often feels as if though it moves so quickly, not because we have less time, but because we create less memorable moments. That's why we remember family traditions, remember late night conversations, remember chai shared with the people we love. Because culture gives those moments emotional weight, and emotional weight is what makes those moments endure. In South Asian homes, chai is never just chai. It's conversation, it's hospitality, it's someone saying, stay a bit longer. It's stories that somehow get repeated every single year and yet still manage to make everybody laugh. It's someone saying, just 5 more minutes. And yet, when those 5 more minutes become an hour, nobody even realizes. People do not simply drink chai, they inhabit time together. And maybe that is the lessons. The moments we remember are rarely the most productive ones. They're the ones that we feel the most connected to the place, to the people, to tradition, and to meaning. And yet, this is where we face a very human problem. In Urdu, we even have a word for it, kashmakash. Kashmakash is the quiet inner struggle. It's the feeling of being pulled between two things that matter. It's the feeling of, of being pulled between the two things that matter and what demands our attention. We know we should slow down, but we don't. We know we should be present, but our minds are already occupied for the next thing, for the next task, for the next deadline, for the next notification. And because of that, another feeling appears, malal. Malal is a gentle regret. It's not dramatic and it's not overwhelming. It's just the feeling that you were there, but not fully. That maybe someone was trying to make a memory with you, but you realized soon after it became one. And I think we've all felt that way. A conversation we wish we'd listened to more carefully, a normal evening that now seems so important to us, a goodbye that seemed routine at that time, a moment only revealed its value long after it was gone. Because meaningful moments rarely announce themselves. They don't have a grand carpet entry with music, and they don't tell us, you, pay attention, you're gonna miss this someday. They arrive disguised as ordinary days. Sometimes it's sitting with family. Sometimes it's a late night conversation. Sometimes it's dipping a biscuit into chai and watching it break and fall apart and everybody else laughs at you. And somehow, years later, you still remember it, not because it changed your life, but because you were there for it, fully. And maybe that is the lesson. But maybe that is why I keep on thinking about the rose. Because we know that time is going to run out. And maybe that's not the lesson. Maybe the lesson is that the petals are valuable because they're falling. If they lasted forever, they would mean nothing. Scarcity creates significance. The reason moments matter is precisely because they end. Finitude creates value. The reason, and perhaps culture is humanity's response to that reality. It's a beautiful response. It's a collective response. It's a response developed over thousands of years. Culture takes ordinary moments, meals, language, cups of chai, and tells us this matters. We should remember this. In a way, culture is humanity's technology for protecting the passage of time. And maybe culture itself is also borrowed too. We inherited it from our parents, from our grandparents, from our families, from our communities, and generations we will never even meet. And one day, we too shall pass this on. the stories, the languages, the meals, the values, the traditions. So maybe we don't need a rose under a glass to realize that time is passing. Maybe you already have something better. We have the people around us who teach us which moments value, because time gives us moments and culture tells us which ones matter. Maybe that is the real meaning of borrowed time. Not how much of it we have, but how much we recognize its meaning before the petals fall. So the next time you sit down for a cup of chai, don't just drink it and move on. Pause, listen to the stories, share one of your own. Because culture isn't preserved in textbooks or even in museums. It comes from these moments. It lives in the conversations that is passed from another to another. So go home, make a cup of chai, and start a conversation worth remembering. And recognize your borrowed time before all of these petals fall.